Good morning, Solaris 7. Calgary Battletech brings you Uncivil Discourse with your hosts, Brett, Lee, and commentary from Jacques. Thanks to everyone who got their games played this week, and all the skill spins for this wonderful time of year. We're happy to bring you another podcast. Let's get to it.
That's right, Brett. We've had a good week so far. All the games have been played. 80% of everyone's put in their skill spins. We're also finding out that some people are banking their skills. Please make sure you let the admin know that when you're banking as well by email so that know not to wait for you.
Well, fight fans, this was one heck of a week. Week 3's in the bag, and oh, was it a ring-dong dandy. Lots of left, rights, and uppercuts all over the place. Movement up and down the standings, and it's a wide-open field this season.
At this time of year, we all have lots to be thankful for coming up. Part of that is the great atmosphere that we have here. 3 games down, and everyone is having a good time so far. And we want to thank each and every one of you for being that kind and generous player that we have hoped to attract in this season.
Thanks again to everybody, and on to our skill spins. This week has seen a fair amount of skill spins coming up with some predictability and some new and exciting skills that you may not be familiar with. The Merrick's Marauders Awesome picks up favorite weapon, ERPPC. Executive Outcomes Warhammer reassigns into the Warhammer 7M, looking for an upgraded unit. The Executive Outcomes Banshee, using his Underworld connections, picks up Endo Steel Internal Structure. Cavalier's Commandos Phoenix Hawk goes to the paddock and gets his engineers to make some adjustments, dropping the 2 primary ER larges in favor of a single large pulse laser. 55th Shadow Division Kakata, that little bouncing bee, is going to sting just a little bit more with a Clan Salvage ERPPC. Watch out for that 15.812.8 jump in rear. The Shitehawks Warhammer picks up Engineer to double heatsink. We could have called that as soon as we knew it had one. First Clovis Lancers Wolverine picks up Target Lock. Expect that guy to be hunting down your favorite mech. The Einherjar Wolverine, using Black Market, picks up a Clan XL engine. And, like it was meant to be, the Ghost Legion Wolverine does the exact same thing. Those 7K Wolverines are going to be just that much harder to slap down. Blitzkrieg Jezebel's Trebuchet picks up Missile Grouping, as well as the Vulcan picking up Engineer to get some double heat sinks. Clan Cobra Chickens Archer picks up Missile Grouping, going to be a little bit more accurate now. Carstairs Stable Awesome favorite weapon ERPPC. Can we see a pattern here, everybody? Crimson Ronin, Hunchback, decides that he needs to pick up the game. He uses Clan Salvage on his AC-20 and upgrades to an LB-20X. And since he's being the big boy now, he's going to pick up favorite weapon for that weapon as well. Killer Bunnies, Shadowhawk, Clan salvages the LRM-20. Expect that mech to not run out of ammo after 6 rounds anymore. Friston's Rogues, Kentaro, Clan salvages the large laser into an ER large laser. That little missile boat now has something that can reach out and touch anybody anywhere on the map it wants to. Hubris Inc. Cataphract picks up Engineer to gain double heatsinks and get rid of 2 of the 4 tons of AC-5 ammo it had. Who designed that? I don't know, but it definitely was a campaign mech to begin with. And the Macross Stables, Awesome, shocking everybody, hold your breath, picks up favorite weapon ERPPC. Everybody else has banked the rest of their points for this round.
Well, it looks like everybody's getting everything together technical-wise for their battle mechs. Actual skills are going out this time. All these missile groupings, that's going to be great. You're going to watch all these missile boats saying, hey, watch this drive. Bam! Missile grouping is quite possibly the most less understood and greatly appreciated skill that there could be, just adding the amount of angry bees that hit the target. That Cicada, that's a nightmare. 8-12-8, and it's got a head capper. You must die. It must die. It must die horribly. Kill it with fire, nuke it from orbit, just to be sure. But that's a WOB mech, so it's kind of appropriate.
John, on that note, when you were talking about that mech must die, hence why every Awesome is taking favorite weapon PPC. They're going to want to slap those little fast buggers down as fast as possible.
Well, favorite weapon PPC and the missile grouping is going to help with it. I mean, if he wants to get in close, yeah, he's going to run and jump and be hard to hit, but you only got to really hit those cicadas once.
Well, now, not so much, because that extra ton that it picked up from clanning that ERPPC is extra armor. Keep in mind, that mech is going to have a 5 or a 6 modifier every single round. All right, so round 3 saw some really interesting matches play out. Let's take a closer look at them this time. Facing off over the red peaks, we see the Clan Cobra Chickens score a victory. That's right, everybody. A victory over the Cavalier Commandos. 1-0.
I'm pretty certain that was the money I put down on that game. I figured John had a darn good chance against the Cavalier Commandos and showed it by playing a very sensible game. Hard hitting, but not lots of deaths, but they played well. That moves John actually up into the middle of the pack with 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 tie. And an exact 5 kills with 5 deaths.
I'd just like to point out that I think this was the most historic game in the history of any incarnation of the Battletech League, mainly because every single pilot in the Cobra Chickens stayed on their feet. That's right, people, not once did the Cobra Chickens hit the ground. That being said, watch for them in the next match to be flopping on the deck like a dying fish.
Our second match this week had the blitzing Blitzkrieg Jezebels running roughshod all over the Red Suns Irregulars with a 3-1 stomping all over the difficult ground Arena 11.
I'm almost positive I called this one too. Heather's a great player. She's solid. She knows her mechs, even if she doesn't read the books, doesn't read the skills, doesn't know the math off the top of her head. Yeah, why did she win? But no, honestly, she's a great player. She knows her stuff.
Y'all want to know why the Blitzkrieg Jezebels won this one? It's because she took pity on you and me, Lee. She didn't want to ruin us. She didn't want to bruise our egos. She took pity on us. That's why we were able to get a tie from her. So in this game, she was able to let everybody off the chain. It was a case of pity versus you and me. That's what it was.
Game number 3, meeting in the Mountain Lakes Arena 7, the 55th Shadow Division, and the Killer Bunnies. 3 mechs dead. They all lost their head, but the victor did it the most spectacularly by squishing the pilot. After having lost all of its weapons and taken a gyro hit, the pilot needed to stand up to stay in the fight. Failed the pilot roll, failed the seatbelt check, then smashed the head into the rock for 6 pilot hits. Equals 1 squashed mech warrior. 2-1 victory to the Killer Bunnies.
I knew they had it in them. The bunnies are solid. Though I didn't bet on this one, I went 55th Shadow Division. I shouldn't have underestimated what those rabbits can do. There is nothing worse than losing a pilot to pilot hits. Isn't that right, Jacques?
I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no recollection of the events. I will neither confirm nor deny the situation. This was a great game, mainly because the Northerner lost. Yes, that's right. The evil Northern Dominion group was beaten. They were pushed back. Kudos to the Killer Bunnies.
Game number 4, we saw some knife fighting happening in the Reaches map, Custom Planes. I think this is a favorite for Riston's Rogues. They beat the Ghost Legion here last week and repeat that performance with a 3-0 win over Macross Stables.
I think I'm on a roll this week, guys. I really do. Richmond Rogues are a solid team. They're next to impossible to beat, I think. The tie Chris got from them week 1, I think, is going to be a rarity, and I think they're going to be in the top 4 teams.
This one, it was another humdinger. I'm putting it up to more of karma for the Macross Stables, because we all know how much us Battletech mech fans love a certain animation studio. But it was a good fight all around.
Game number 5, the Plains of Death, Arena 10, hosted the Crimson Ronin and the 1st Clovis Lancers. After much shooting, back and forth, the luck of the Riflemen holds out. 1-1 tie game as both Wolverines were dragged off the field in pieces today.
I don't know what to say about the Riflemen. If it's going to keep holding up this luck for the 1st Clovis Lancers, that is fantastic. And the nickname Cat works perfectly true. That mech has at least 9 lives, which will take them through the beginning of the playoffs.
Absolutely. We got 8 games in the season, so 9 lives will last them right through.
That Rifleman is just beyond unbelievable. The fact that it is surviving and it keeps going and going and going. Man, Kat, I swear, she's probably got like an Easter bunny, Energizer bunny hanging in the cockpit as well, because it's unstoppable. That is, for a rifleman, normally people scoff at it. It's scary.
Rumor has it he's looking to pick up a clan ERPPC on that puppy too. Going into game number 6, meeting for a rematch of their preseason exhibition game, Hubris Inc. and Ghost Legion find themselves in Arena 9 in the River Basin. This game ends in a 4-0 victory for the Devastator. I mean, Hubris Inc. Devastator claiming all 4 kills this game, though.
Hubris Inc., first team overall before the playoffs. That's my prediction. Followed very closely by Riston's Rogues. That Devastator, and I mean every Devastator in League, is going to be a head-capping, mech-crunching monster.
I'd like to point out that Devastator did not kill a single mech by headshot. It took all torsos.
All left torsos. So it's an extremely accurate mech, too. John, what's your predictions on that?
Hubris Inc.'s, I think, going to take the league. Like, she has great tactics, phenomenal luck, and yeah, that Devastator is just ugly. You talk about people taking favorite weapon PPC, missile grouping, things like that to kill things like that Cicada in the Shadow Division. Man, those skill picks are for that Devastator too. It's like, see it, kill it.
Buying straight gunnery for that mech was definitely a benefit for Mackenzie in this game. That's for sure. Taking us into Game 7, marauding through the foothills, Arena 5, we see the Merrick team take it to the Draconis Spirit like they had some lunch money in their pocket, and this was a playground. Marauder victory, 4-1.
He should have given me his yogurt. I told him to give him the yogurt. Hand it over. He just wouldn't do it, so I had to stomp him. It was a great game. Chris was a lot of fun to play against. Solid tactics. Had me very nervous there for my stalker's life. But then he kind of turned and walked away from it and let it survive. I'll take a win when I get it, but it was so close to being the other way around. I only won out of 16 rounds, 3 initiatives the entire game.
Yeah, you disrespected that boy with that beating. But I agree. Turning your back on a stalker, I mean, it's a stalker. It is an every range bracket, I'm going to eat your face mech. You don't turn your back on it. You keep hammering until it goes down. But you live, you learn.
Game number 8. Pavement Princesses, they are not. The Pirates and Vikings go sliding and falling on our custom Arena 2, the Fortress. Lots of concrete here, folks. We see the Inhayar win, taking home the outcome in a 3-1 victory.
I'm speechless. And that's rare for me. Way to go, Vikings. It sounds like Executive Outcomes gave you a little bit of help with some really poor piloting rolls, but it just shows he's human and can join the club like the rest of us, eh, Jacques?
Oh, yes. Flippity floppity on the face property. I told you the Vikings were going to take it. No one believed me. I had faith. But the concrete definitely played a factor in this one. And it just goes to show you how tricky it can be running on concrete. Some people think, oh, sure, no problem, I can do this. And then you're on your back or on your face or into a building. That we didn't see. Now, really would have been funny if they would have had a slide into a building and have the building collapse. That would have been great. But this was a good win for the Viking boys. They needed it. It was a good positioning.
This will take us into the last game for round number 3. In the most basic of arenas, we see the Flying Hawks coming at the Carstairs Stables. Game comes out as a 0-0 tie as time expires. Shitehawks Warhammer and Phoenix Hawk both near death. Just holding on, though.
I want to note how much faster these guys are playing and how much faster they're learning. Michael was doing some decent moves in there, had reasons for most of his moves. Has to learn not to jump 2 hexes. That will never do you good. As well as focus fire on particular mechs, make sure they go down, make sure they stay down, and then shoot them a couple more times to make sure that you got the points.
This one comes, I think, more down to a couple of rookie teams still figuring things out, feeling their play modes down, their styles, getting used to who goes where, who does what. But it was a dinger, but no wins, no losses, and no points for or against either.
I'd like to welcome to our show tonight Gary. He is the commanding officer of the Red Sons Irregulars. Got a few questions for you. Our adoring fans would love to hear your opinions on these. We'll start off with the first question. What got you into Battletech and how long have you been playing?
It's a fond memory. Do you remember the movie Robot Jocks?
Mm-hmm.
So awesome, so 80s, it was perfect. Got me into the big, huge mech on mech thing. And then moved into Saskatoon and Saskatchewan and met a whole bunch of people that played it and got into it. It's been years now. Like, I must mean at least 10, 15 years I've been playing it off and on. So, oh yeah, and I love the Robot Jocks. It just got me into it. And then, of course, Pacific Rim came around and it's even better.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Battletech saw a very large spike in play when Pacific Rim came out. But of course, we have our roots in Macross and Robotech and a lot of those things like that. And then we have, like you said, Robot Jocks. There's been references in lots of different sci-fi about mechs. Battletech, unfortunately, doesn't have a lot of media exposure.
And I think that's where it should change. I think there should be getting into, like, animated shorts and stuff like that. I did love the cartoon.
Ugh. Sorry,
cartoon was...
I hate Adam Steiner. That man must die.
I did love the geometrics of it when they went into enhanced imagery, so that's what I liked about it.
The graphics were fine for its era. It definitely promoted the idea of Battletech. I just hated Adam Steiner and so many other things. So, moving on to question 2. What significance does your team name mean to you, and is there a history behind Red Sons Irregulars?
I've always had, my teams have always been the Irregulars. They've always been the misfits of everything, and that's what makes them special. The Red Sons, just Federated Commonwealth, it's been one of my favorite factions to play forever and a day. So I always try to think of them going out with a blaze of glory. So the Red Sons, and then the Irregulars were just the losers. Oh yeah, and almost every video game that I play or anything like that, it's always going to be the unit name is going to be something Irregulars.
That's good, and it definitely gives you your ownership of the unit that way.
Oh yeah, definitely. It gives you ownership and command of it, and I like being the outcast, the people that you call for, weird situations.
No job too small, no job too big.
Exactly.
Okay, well, we'll move on to the third question here. What's your favorite part about being part of a semi-organized league?
Oh, I like interacting with people, playing the matches. This day and age, everything is about interacting with people, getting to know people. People are at their easiest when they're playing video games or when they're playing tabletop games together, especially when it's a fun environment and not like every roll is to the death and you have to death stare everybody else down when you're rolling. I just find it fun, and I like that it's structured enough that you can have fun and everybody has a chance to win and play. That's what I like about it. Back
in the original league, for a few seasons, they actually had a jacket up for grabs. Mm-hmm. The only problem was it got way too competitive. People got way too angry. That's part of the reason why the league trophy, you get to put your name on it, kind of like Stanley Cup. Yeah. You don't get to keep the trophy. There's no fighting over the trophy.
Exactly. It's on display. It's there for everybody. And I mean, I've won a couple of back in Saskatchewan before I left for Alberta. It's kind of funny to go into a semi-organized league and bring at the playoffs and just annoy people. But it's also get to the point where, it's bad enough that you can upset some of the long-term people playing it just because you're an odd card. You don't know you're a wild card kind of thing. So that's why I'm kind of going with this league, because this is my first one since, I don't know, at least 4 or 5 years of living in Alberta now. I've had, 3 matches now, and every single one has been a blast.
Good. Okay, moving on to question number 4. Do you have a fluff mindset for your Caesars bad attitude in picking a personal vendetta against an opponent's mech?
That pilot is just a bad apple. He's always the guy to pull through, but he's going to have the shittiest attitude. And he's got the crappiest attitude ever, but he just can do whatever he feels like. And I put him in the Caesar. I put it with the Caesar because the most advanced mech that I got right now. Mm-hmm. And he can just rifle from across the range, across the map, But I always say that he's, the guy that doesn't talk on comms, says 2 words on comms and then just is angry at everybody as he jumps out of his mech.
The grizzled old veteran.
Yeah, yep. The grizzled old guy that just can't be bothered with anybody else and just goes on his way and does his own stuff. Sweet. And he's always muttering under his breath, so...
I like it. You're going to have to, each game, when you choose which mech is your personal vendetta, you're going to have to just pick something on that mech you don't like. Oh, it's
exactly
too purple,
right.
It's too green. Oh, I don't like its hex base, something like that. Something fun, but a reason for having a bad attitude towards it.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're on to the last question here. This is the same one I ask everybody. Do you have any comments for your future opponents?
I have no problem beating down the elites of the game and elites of the league, the hardcore players. We'll go through them all one way or another, and I have no problem with that. My irregulars will always be up to the challenge.
Thanks a lot, Gary, for joining us for that interview. That was a lot of fun, and look forward to seeing you at our next game. This leads us into our Week 4 matches. We move on to game number 1. Clan Cobra Chickens versus the Draconis Spirits. Clan Cobra Chickens have 1 win, 1 loss, and a tie. And the Draconis Spirits are still looking for their first win with 3 losses.
I'm thinking this is going to be a pretty decent game. I'm betting on the Clan Cobra Chickens this time. I think they're going to go 2-1-1 finally.
I was actually concerned for your health there for a sec, Brett.
I had trouble breathing. I couldn't hardly keep myself contained when I was going to say that.
You all saw the last match the Chickens played, right? How well their pilots did. You all know that you're going to lose your money, right? Because they are going to be on their faces this match. It's going to be inevitable. It's going to be all 4. I predict all 4 of the Cobra Chickens mechs are going to be on the ground at the same time. Because that is how the fates work.
Nah, I think you crawled on top of the barrel. You got 1 more round in you before you fall off, and just start hugging it.
The debt must be paid. The balance must be restored. The universe is out of alignment. I'm thinking, even with going on their faces, these teams have never faced each other before. It's going to be close, depending on what they do. But I think the Cobra Chickens are going to come out on top this time, too.
So, moving on to game 2. We have the Blitzkrieg Jezebels with 1 win and 2 ties, one of our few undefeated teams, versus the Einherjar with 1 win, an important one though, 1 tie and 1 loss.
Well, since you can't say it, I will. I think the Einherjar are going to finally put the Blitzkrieg Jezebels to bed. I'm thinking a 2-1 victory for the Einherjar.
This one's gonna be gross. They're both gonna go at each other like rabid dogs. I know they are. But the Einherjar, they're going to take it. I'm sorry, Heather, but I got to give it to Chris.
I think it's going to depend upon the map for sure. Game number 3, we have the Red Sun Irregulars, 1 win, 2 ties, versus the Cavaliers Commandos, 1 win, 2 ties.
This is going to be dependent on the map. If these guys end up showing down on something like Fortress, I got to give it to the Cavaliers with their innate knowledge on just what to do to not end up sliding. Red Suns Irregulars play kind of in your face and very aggressive from what I'm understanding. So if they get a Plains map with nothing to hold them back, then it's going to go to them. This one's going to be too hard to call, but I'm thinking it's going to be a 3-2 game, scoring pretty decent for whoever wins.
It's going to come down to the map. If it's a close-in knife fight, It's going to the Cavalier Commandos, especially with what they did to that Phoenix Hawk. A bouncer with a pulse laser, even though it's not clan pulse laser with the heavy hitting power, it's still a bonus to hit at a close-in range. That P-Hawk will get in, be able to take it down. But again, they get on with the way the Red Suns work. If it's an open map, it's going to close to another knife fight, and that could prove detrimental to the Commandos. I'm going to be conservative and call this one a 2-2 tie.
All right, well, that moves us on to game number 4. Killer Bunnies, 2 wins, 1 tie, and 0 losses versus Carstairs Stables, a 1-1-1 team. I'd have to say, once again, the Killer Bunnies are bouncing for victory. I think us long-term league members need to watch out of being pushed out of the playoffs completely.
Bunnies win. Bunnies win. They got the last one. I think they'll get it again. I'm going to go for the Bunnies, probably on a 2-1 victory.
I'm going to go for the Bunnies as well. 2-1, maybe a 2-0, depending on how things go. But definitely the Bunnies.
I think you're underestimating Carstairs Stables. They're definitely going to take a kill with them as they go, but I think they might overextend a little bit.
Well, that moves us on to game number 5. Riston's Rogues, 2 wins, 0 losses, and a tie, versus the Shitehawks, 0 wins, 1 tie, and 2 losses. I'm looking at like I said, this is what I think is going to be the number 2 team of the league. Riston Rogues versus the Shitehawks, who are just learning the real ins and outs of tournament play, as well as even some of the basic rules. Riston's Rogues are not going to walk all over them, but they're going to come out with a win. I'm going to go 3-0.
I got a feeling this is going to end up being a game that is determined by how many turns they get in. If it is sub 10 turns, I think it's going to be a 2-0 win for Riston's Rogues. If they go more than that, I think it's going to be a 3-1 Riston Rogues victory.
Yeah, this one's going to be at how long they play it. It's the rookie versus a veteran. Map's going to come into it as well. Hopefully the rookie team will get a good pull that'll work to their advantage to give them a bit of a benefit. But this one's going to go for length. Or the shorter the game, greater the victory for the Riston's Rogues and the kill count for the Rogues. Longer the game, lower kill count, closer game.
Game number 6 brings us the first Clovis Lancers, 1 win, 1 loss, 1 tie, versus the 55th Shadow Division, 2 wins and a really devastating loss. This past week, my guess, I think the Shadow Division are going to continue their sliding ways, and the first Clovis Lancers is going to get their first win into the big times.
I got a feeling that this is going to be another good game. First Clovis Lancers got some really solid skill. They have a little bit of military background and history on their side. They've also got a desire just to play and have a good time. I'm thinking this is going to be a Shadow Division win. I think they're going to spend a good chunk of the game trying to kill that rifleman, and it's just going to stay standing. I'm thinking it's going to be a 2-1 victory Shadow Division, with the rifleman standing on one leg and one arm blazing away.
Oh, that rifleman's going to be the curse for the Northerners. They're going to try and kill that thing so badly that the rest of the Lancers are going to be able to come in and clean up the field. This one's going to go 2-1, 3-2 for the Lancers.
Moving on to game number 7, we have Hubris Inc., which I think I have a misprint on the score, should be 3 wins, 0 losses, 0 ties, versus McCraw Stables, no wins at all, 3 losses. Really sad to see that. My bet on this one, and I've only been doing about half of them with my predictions, Hubris Inc. is going to continue on to 4-0. McCraw Stables is going to make it look like a really good game, though, and they're going to really put those Hubris Inc. mechs to test.
I'm pretty confident that I'm going to have to agree with you here, Lee. That Devastator is devastating. The Cataphract being upgraded. The Zeus is a zombie. It just doesn't die. You rip off the arms and the torsos and it's still kicking. I think Hubris Inc. is going to take a beating, but I don't think Macross Stables is going to be able to drop something. It's going to be probably a 3-0 victory for Hubris Inc. on this one, and that'll be dependent upon how the map affects that. If there's good line of sight, definitely 3-1.
Oh, this one's going to Hubris. Sorry, Macross. You're going to get robbed in the streets of Baltimore on this one. That Devastator is unstoppable. Gets you in your sights, you're done. This one's going to be a 3-0 for Hubris.
See an upset if the Macross Stables awesome pops the head on the Devastator early, they've got a chance. But I think that's got to happen.
Completely agree. Game number 8 brings us the hometown favorite, Merrick's Marauders. 2 wins, 0 losses, 1 tie, versus the Crimson Ronin with 1 win, 1 tie, 1 loss. I don't like betting on my own games, so I'm going to just leave it up to you guys.
I think my kid is going to take you to the streets and beat you like a redheaded stepchild. That hunchback is going to see your Centurion and show you how it's done. Crimson Ronin, 3-2 victory over Merrick's Marauders. Marauders crying into their carpet.
The Marauders are going to get beat in the street. It's done. That hunchback with that clan AC-20 on it, man, you're done. He's going to table you 4-0 for the Ronin.
Shock. This is why I love playing poker against you. You just make the wrong decisions. As a friend of mine once said, if you get shot in the back, it's your own fault. I draw people to try to shoot me in the back so my 3 big buddies can clear them off my shoulder. It's worked twice so far. It's going to work again. That moves us into game number 9. The executive outcomes ready to stranglehold the next person that comes up to them versus Ghost Legion is at 1 win, 2 losses, no ties.
This one is going to come down to maps. We have both players that are experienced throughout multiple seasons. Both players have spent multiple upgrades on their mechs. So they have the clan salvage in there. They've engineered mechs to be more devastating. The outcome have reassigned to overcome for a old school weak link in the Warhammer to a new school strong companion. This is going to be either a 4-3 one way or the other, I think. And of course, for me, I got to take this.
You know, I can be the outsider looking in on this one. I've seen both these players go head to head, and I can say it's going to come down to maps. If there's lots of concrete, will the executive outcome still be gun shy about all that slipping and falling that they did? But this one's going to be a knife fight. It's going to be ugly. I can see both teams fighting to a standstill, 3-3.
Not a knife fight. This is going to be a machine gun fight.
I completely agree with you, Brett. You guys, definitely it'll all come down to which map is drawn. JP's going to come in, maybe a little bit tentative about Asphalt, like Jacques was talking about. And you've had a couple of weird losses recently. Maps, whoever's the most comfortable on the map is going to be the winner. I'm not going to call it a tie, but I actually think it's going to be a surprising 3-1. There's going to be a bigger gap than you guys have.
All right, fight fans, it's that time of the show that you've all been waiting for. The marks of honor or shame from week 3 matches. It's Jacques Awards. Kicking it off this week, we've got a great award going out to executive outcome, Ballin', but at what cost? How can you not give this award to them with the banana peels, the soap? I mean, if it could have been slippery, they put it on their foot actuators. I don't know if they were trying to moonwalk or if they were trying to break dance, but gravity was not their friend. Second this week, it's all to the 55th Shadow Division. 3 head hits. All 3.
Do you wish to delete?
Deleted. Thank you for playing. I mean, this was just ugly every time. You could feel the entire crowd cringe whenever there was a head hit, culminating with that victor. I mean, get the hose and sponge out the cockpit with how much those brains oozed out of the ears. Well, mech fans, that's been another wrap for us. Your 3 caballeros behind the mic on the podcast. And just as a little bit of a tease, your old Uncle Jock's got a little bit of a rant coming up for y'all in the spirit of Halloween. We're going to talk about zombies.
All right. Thanks, everybody. As mentioned, anybody of our Canadian listeners, you'll be familiar that we have Thanksgiving coming up this month. As a bi-weekly thing, it kind of throws a little bit of a hiccup into the scenario. And then we've got a mid-season event, so we may or may not have something coming up. But all that being equal, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for subscribing, sharing, liking, and tell your friends. We appreciate it, and we only want to keep entertaining you and everybody you know. Coming at you like a shot to the cockpit. Good night, and lights out.